Hey, welcome. And this is a quick demo on how to sketch a face. I already kind of got a head start, as you can see, and this is just nothing too intricate. Really just a quick, a very sketchy head shape. So what I would do at this point, and what I would say I'm doing at this point is I'm just gathering data. I'm putting data and information down onto the page and constructing things as I want them. And so what I would do from here is once I get the proportions to where I want them to be, I would then go ahead and lower the opacity. Or if I were drawing with pencil and paper, which is my preferred method, I would just lightly erase everything and leave kind of a ghost of this sketch behind. And then from that step, I would just go ahead and find the lines I want to keep. So I'll do a quick demo on what I'm saying, so you can kind of follow along. And I hope that this helps you. And this is just a typical, 3/4 view face. The reason we call it 3/4 is because you're seeing it from, instead of head on, you're seeing it from an angle. And what that means is anything that's closer to us, we're going to see more of. Anything that's further away, we're going to see less of. And as things get further away, they slightly become smaller. So if we were imagining that there is a perspective line here, and we were just putting him in a cube, it would look something like that, right? And then, so that's basically what this means. It's a 3/4 view, so we've twisted and turned the box. And so from here, what I would do is just kind of lower the opacity and leave about that much behind. And the reason I'm doing this is because I have enough information here where I can kind of find the lines I want to keep, and keep my sketch clean. And if I want to continue being sketchy right now and just kind of roughing it, I can. But that's really up to me and how I'm feeling. Some days I'm feeling quite confident, and I might. Why isn't this not wrong? I might be able to get everything on the first swing, and then some days I might be, a little out of it, maybe tired, fatigued, whatever. Maybe not feeling it, and so it might take me a few more extra tries. So I might continue to be sketchy until that pump is primed, as they say, prime the pump. And so right now I'm just putting in some eyebrows and just kind of lightly finding some lines. And at this stage, I don't have to draw everything in. I don't have to connect the whole line of the bridge of the nose. I don't have to draw anything too intricately at this point. And so I'm still kind of finding shapes as I go along. I'm wondering, okay, do I want him to have a longer jaw, more of an oval face, or do I want him to have more of a squared jaw and a shorter face? So I can kind of experiment with that right now. And so you see how this chin is very long, right? So maybe I can shorten it up to right here. Give him some reconstructive surgery. And that's why we're using pencil, or, in this case, a digital pencil. And then from here, I can just kind of find my curves, and I'll keep them bald at this point. I always add the hair last, unless it's a well-known character where I know exactly where the hair is going to be, like Wolverine or someone like that. I pretty much save the hair for the latter part of the sketch. So here I will throw in an ear, and another thing that you can experiment with is just kind of mess around with different sizes. So if you want to draw a different ear, like a smaller ear, you can. Or a big ear. And Typically, as a character ages, his ears get bigger. Go ahead and look at your parents' ears. They're probably bigger than they were when they were in their 20s in their photos. Ears keep growing. It's cartilage, so it's not like not like a bone. And then at this point, I'm thinking, okay, do I want this character looking at me? Which, if you do, there's a trick to this. You would, since it's a 3/4 shot, I would favor the side closest to me, the eye, and put a little eyeball here in the middle. And then on this further eye away from us, you wouldn't see the whole eyeball. And then I would throw in a pupil here. And it kind of makes it look like he's looking towards us. You can even emphasize it more if you add kind of a glare out of the eye, like I forget what it's called here, but the little reflection. And then at this point, what you can do is, this looks like Xavier, like Professor X, a little bit, right? So you just throw in a suit with a tie. And this is how I draw basically, is when I'm just doodling and I don't have anything in mind, I just experiment a lot. And I can even change this character a lot. Just like let's go ahead and erase a few things here. Let's say he's a little aged, so I'm going to go ahead and start over with him. I'm going to make him look a little bit different than he looked. So again, I'll start with the eyes, and I will go ahead and pencil in a shape of an eye, nothing too serious here. And then I would measure, kind of, no pun intended, eyeball where I think the other eye would go. And then instead of having this low brow, I would raise his brow up. So let's see. Like this. And then wrap this other brow around here. And how do I want his face? Do I want his face angular? If you want it angular, you can raise like this. And this is kind of stylistic. And then I'll keep the chin long this time and kind of swoop it in. And here's his jawbone. And I'll bring this jawline a little further and then angle it back. And then I will start the ear a little higher. And then I will just come over and keep him bald, but don't worry. We can put hair on him in a moment. And things are going to change when I get rid of these construction lines. He's going to look a lot cleaner, you'll see. So I'm kind of mimicking the muscles I had before, the neck muscles. In terms of his facial expression, maybe I can give him, let's see, just kind of angle up his mouth a little bit. And that right there changes everything, right? Just a slight angle. Keep everything very slight, and don't exaggerate too much. And you'll find as you practice that less is more. Okay, so I'm not liking this jawline, so I'm going to go ahead and erase it and kind of construct it in a different way. Keep in mind, I still consider this a construction sketch, so it's always subject to change. And let's see, so I'm going to throw in an eyeball again. Another one over here, throw in an eye, a pupil. Let's see how it looks without the underdrawing. See, it's cleaning up a little bit. But I want to continue. Just adding different contours and textures and things like that. So the more you add, the more aged the character becomes. So you have to be very careful with that. But you learn a lot in this process. So when you're actually doing a sketch, like for either a commission or for a company, if you've been contracted to do some work, well, this kind of practice comes in handy because it's all downloaded and saved and stored in your memory banks, in your subconscious mind. So you can recall it later at will. So one of the things I like to do is I like to kind of create a third dimension here. And so if we were drawing this as a cube, as we did before, I would just add another layer. I would think of it like this. So I have one line here, going down. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just my thought process. Right? So I got him all boxed in, right? So at that point, you can, you know that when you, to find a center of a square or a rectangle, you just connect the opposing corners, and then you have your center. See right here. So anyway, these are just math tricks that you don't really need necessarily, but they do come in help. They are pretty helpful when, you know, you're measuring things or. But anyway, I digress. Let's keep going. All right. So now what do we want to do with him? Do we want to add some hair? You know who this could be? I'm going to call it right now. I'm going to see if you recognize who this is. And that would be dependent on how well of a job I do. Let's see. Whoops. I got some blue in here, but it doesn't matter because all this is. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop in an ear here. Anyone know who this is yet? How about now? Well, if you guessed Gambit, you would be correct. All right, so I have kind of a Gambit sketch, and what I would do at this point is I would do the same thing. I would tone it down with the opacity. I'd probably come under here, get rid of this one, and then tone it down a little bit more. And then I would switch to an actual, like a pencil color. And I would go to another layer. And this is the equivalent of me sharpening my pencil. And then at this point, I would basically just kind of dive into the sketch. And, you know, I'll turn my paper. Before, by the way, I was drawing some sort of a Captain America sketch. Just from my mind. So now, you know, Gambit has that kind of like his eyes are different. They're not like human eyes. And this is just me remembering comics. I don't have any reference in front of me, but I'm just going to try to wing it here. So I remember that he has, this area would be blackened out. And then I would give him an eyeball. And then give him kind of an eyelid. And this time I will give him more of an angular eyebrow. Same thing here. Give him kind of a furrowed brow. And then on his nose, I would probably give it a little bit more angle. And give him more of a rough, rugged look. And maybe even a, I don't know, cigarette or whatever he would smoke here. And then under here, I remember when Jim Lee used to draw Gambit, and I think Jim Lee actually created Gambit. He would give him like this under lip, almost looked like he had chewing tobacco inside. And then he would create a strong jawline, but he had a lot of stubble. So yeah, this is all based on memory. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw on this mask, which kind of, if I remember correctly, it kind of angled down like this, came down like this, down here, and then connected to the back of his head. And then he had, the mask went all the way back, followed his jawline, but for whatever reason, his ear still popped out. And then he had a very angular head, and he had some muscles here. And what else? He had he had some weird design underneath where it was like wrapped around, and he had like all these crossings, like I forget exactly what it looked like, but I do remember he wore a trench coat, and it had these like I've never really seen a real trench coat like this in my life, but the way Jim Lee drew it was very convincing. I think the way he drew anything was convincing, actually. The way he draws, like even still, he's just getting better with age. It's amazing. So then at this point, I would probably come in here. If I were using pencil and paper, which is my, like I said before, it's my go-to, I would start adding some shades underneath his neck. Maybe find some shadow underneath his ear. And then probably block some of this mask off a little bit like this. And just kind of get, dive into it. And then I would just start tackling the hair. And when you're drawing hair, I like to start with big shapes first. So in red, you can see that I've given myself a guideline. And then from there, I would just start drawing individual strands. But this is more aesthetics, so you don't have to draw it like this. And then I would part his hair, like going over to his right, our left. And then on this side, I would part and have some hair going in front of him. And then back behind, I would shade this in, like as if there were hair shadowing around. And then I would just kind of keep doing that and just kind of wisping the hair. And at this point, you can, depending on how much time you want to spend, you can come in and start texturizing your hair. And when you're doing it digitally like this, I mean, there's probably way faster methods. I don't consider myself a digital artist at all. I consider myself a digital instructor, but a traditional artist. But you can see, like, there's a hint of Gambit here, right? And I would just kind of shade this area in. And he had this like, wow, this is really bringing me back to the 90s. I really forget what this costume looks like. But I remember it was a lot of fun. And I remember he had a lot of attitude, which I liked. He was a cool, kind of a bad boy with the French Creole accents, and didn't really care about anything. He had kind of that attitude of, take it or leave it. And that's speaking to me from, hey, Jim Lee created this character in that way, and that's how I perceived the character, and that's how you know you're doing a good job as an artist, is when you can tell a story with just a character alone. Like, you could just pick up an X-Men comic back then and kind of know the characters almost immediately. So there you go. There's a quick Gambit sketch, and then, for good measure, you could just start shading things in, and bada boom, bada bing. I hope that this kind of gives you a little insight. I'm not sure what level of an artist you are, if you're beginner, intermediate, advanced, or if you're just a spectator, whatever you are. I really appreciate your view, and if you could like and subscribe to my channel, I'd really appreciate that too. That would encourage me to make more videos like these. And if there's something that you would like me to draw, or maybe you have a sticking point with something, let me know, and I'd be happy to help. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks for tuning in. And again, my name is Mike Van Orden. You can find me on Instagram at Van Orden Art. That's VANORDENART. And thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next one.